it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Papermaze. And this month I've been working with the Simple Vintage Rustic Christmas collection by Simple Stories. And I absolutely love it. The pattern papers in this are just gorgeous. So I've picked two of my favourites to work with today. I've got a couple of photos of my little boy printed off. I'm only going to actually use one of them. And I've used one of the pattern papers to make myself an origami bow that's going to sit on my layout. I did that off camera because I wasn't sure how fiddly it was going to get. I used a YouTube tutorial video for that. It's only about 7 minutes long, so it doesn't take long to make the bow, and it's actually not as difficult as I first thought it would. So I'll pop a link in the description box below to the video I used if you want to give that a go. But I absolutely love how that looks. I'm going to kind of have the theme as bows today on my layout. So I've also picked out this other pattern paper. This is one of my favourites. It's called Season's Best. You can see the B side of it there at the moment. The A side is a poinsettia pattern. Both are absolutely stunning. I should have got two sheets, really. That's the other side there. But what I'm doing effectively is scoring every 1 centimetre, just using my scoring blade. And you'll notice I turn the paper over. So I first score every 2 centimetres on one side. Then I turn the paper over and kind of fill in the gaps, scoring a centimetre or 2 centimetres apart, but in between, if that makes sense. Just makes it a little bit easier when it comes to folding the paper. And the idea I'm going with is I'm going to concertina fold this whole sheet. I'm going to have it in the centre of my layout, kind of pinch it in the middle, or I planned to pinch it in the middle, and have it as like a giant bow on my layout. It's not going to be an exact bow, but it's kind of the shape I was going for. And once I've done this, I actually find that I prefer pinching it to one side, kind of off centre. It just made things a bit easier in my head when it came to photo placement and embellishing. It meant I had some space to one side of my photo for my title rather than trying to keep everything central. So you'll see in a minute I end up going more to one side. And I'm just spending some time now just getting those folds in place. If you don't have a scorer, but you do have a paper trimmer, you can do this as well. If you've got a blunt kind of, or pointy but blunt tool. I used to use, I have a set of icing tools for cake icing. They've got little tiny points at the end, but they're rounded off. You can use that down your paper trimmer instead of the blade as well, and it will give you the same effect. You could just fold it, sort of mark it with a pencil and fold it, but that's a lot of effort, and the folds probably won't be as neat. So I do find scoring first does help me. So you can see here I'm going to play with the design and try and see what I'm happier with. So I want to have that bow sat where the kind of the paper is pinched and it sort of goes inward, but I wasn't too keen on that central design, so I'm going to have that pinched section more to the left, and I'm just tying it together with some gold thread at the moment. I thought this might be visible above my bow, so I went to town making it all pretty and tying it neatly, and in actual fact you can't see it at all, so I could have just sort of gone around twice and then tied it off. But never mind. This gold thread I absolutely love. You can get it at Papermaze as well. It's by We Are Memory Keepers. It's their Stitch Happy gold metallic thread. Absolutely love it for Christmas layouts. It is my go-to thread. So you can kind of see what I was talking about now. It kind of doesn't really look like a bow at all now. Had I have done it more centered, it would have done. But that's the design I'm going for. So I had a play with cardstocks for my background. I tried the white initially, but really wasn't keen on it. I felt like it just washed the colours of the papers out a little bit. The lighter colour you see on that paper there isn't actually white. It's kind of more of a slightly off-white. It's not quite cream, but it's definitely not a brilliant white. So the white cardstock just didn't work for me. So I swapped it out for one of the green basil cardstocks that come in the Matchmaker pack at Papermaze for this collection. much nicer colour. I'm much more happy with that. And I've got my bow stuck in place using my glue gun, and I'm using the glue gun for this concertina paper as well. Because of the folds, there's not a lot of contact area, or surface area, sorry, to make contact with the background, and I needed something to make sure that stuck down, so glue gun is perfect for that. And I'm just having a play with the edges, making sure that they're not kind of flattened out too much. I do want to have that concertina effect showing. So just take a little moment to get the edges in place, and this takes seconds to dry. You do have to be careful because the glue does get very, very hot, but it does hold really fast and really, really quick. So that's all stuck in place now, and I absolutely love how that's looking, and my photo's got kind of a natural place to sit above my bow in that indentation now. Now, I initially printed off 2 photos because I wasn't sure which one to use. They're both of my little boy stood in front of Christmas trees at a Christmas tree farm. We went Christmas tree shopping, and I went with the close-up of the 2, just felt like it worked a little bit better. So I've just mounted it onto white cardstock just to help it pop off that background. And I think that's the only white that's going to appear on this layout. I've got some white cardstock in somewhere. And then I've added a little bit of that Peace on Earth paper behind it. I'm just distressing the edges there just to kind of give it a layer behind that photo. Now I'm going to go through the, I think this is the woodland bits and pieces pack. You get a couple of woodland creatures and loads of leaves and kind of fir trees and things. So I have a play trying to see what I can work. And I initially pull out all of the white flowers along with like the fir branches and the smaller Christmas trees. But I decide that I want a bit of red in there as well. So I end up swapping out some of those for red poinsettias. But this pack here, you can see, has got a lot more red in it. This is the bits and pieces pack, and this is where I decided to swap out some of those white flowers for the red ones. I've also pulled out one of the tags from this pack. I've got a kind of wreath over on the left there that says Merry Christmas, and a couple of Christmas trees over on the right of my photo, and that says, what does it say? The Christmas spirit. So really loved those. I thought they were perfect as we were picking our Christmas tree. I'm going to get those stuck in place with a glue gun as well, just to make sure they hold. And this is where I was talking about my title. I wanted to have a big space for my title, and I knew that with my bow in the centre, I wouldn't have had space in the centre for my for my title as well, which was one of the reasons I decided to kind of move the centre point over to the left. So it's given me that nice big space on the right for my title. And I've used the word December from the foam stickers, and the word joy is from the combo stickers. And again, using my glue gun to get these stuck in place, trying to be very careful not to burn my fingers. I did initially put some talcum powder on the back of these stickers just because I wasn't sure on the placement. I didn't know if I was likely to move them or not. And the talcum powder kind of gets rid of the sticky on the back of things. So now I just need to apply some hot glue to those to get those stuck in place. I'm also going to add a little banner under my title that says Merry and Bright, and then just underneath my bow there I felt like I wanted something the bottom half of my layout as well. So I've pulled up this kind of like a charm or a locket, I think. Got ribbon tied through the top. I'm just going to sit that in between my bow there. It's got a Christmas tree in the centre, so I thought that looked quite nice. And again, just working my way around getting things stuck in place. I'm going to raise the top section of my photo up on foam. I'm not going to raise the bottom up because I want it to tuck in behind that bow and that kind of concertina paper. I was very careful not to apply the hot glue gun to those areas because I knew I wanted my photo to slot in just like so. So I've only put foam at the top. I'm going to add an eyelet to the top of that tag using my crocodile, and I've got a selection of coloured tags. I've used a red one on this layout. I just felt like there wasn't an awful lot of red immediately above the photo, so I've pulled that red out. So I've got that. I've got the red poinsettia over to the right. I think I'm going to add one to the left as well in a minute. I'm just kind of building up a cluster there of branches, flowers and Christmas trees, and then I'll come in and do the same on the left hand side. I've also got kind of a little, I think it's meant to be like a wooden sign from the Bits and Pieces pack that says Happy Holidays, and I've stuck that above my title just to kind of bridge that gap between the tag and the poinsettia. And I'm almost there now. I don't think I add a massive amount more. Just popped one of those little round foam hearts up on my tag there just to bring a bit of green into that tag. Just resticking parts of my title that hadn't quite stuck the first time around. I'm going to add some ribbon through the top of that tag. This is just from my stash. I think I bought this in Hobbycraft, and it's got the perfect colours for this collection in. So I've just threaded some of that through my tag, and now I'm going to come in with a bit of that gold thread and just tie that off with a bow. I didn't really want to stick the kind of the ends down at all to the background. I wanted to leave them free, but they needed something around them to keep them in place, so just so they didn't come back through the hole in the eyelet. So I've just tied some gold thread around those. I'm just going to trim that down. I love how well that ribbon matches this collection. It was just almost made for this collection, I think. Just adding a few more leafy bits now. These are from the Woodland Bits and Pieces pack. I'm just going to add one either side of my kind of bow tails there just to fill in those gaps. And I think I'm almost done at this point. I do raise quite a few things up with foam pads, like the ends of things, so that the tips of leaves and the tips of petals I like to raise up with foam, just to bring in a bit of dimension and just make them look a bit more realistic and less kind of flat. Now I'm going to add some splatters to my layout. This is a metallic gold acrylic paint. I've just put a tiny drop on some packaging and watered that down, and I'm just using my paintbrush to flick the splatters around. And then I'm going to come in with some white splatters as well, and for that I'm using my white gesso, again just watering it down a bit to make it a little bit wetter, makes it easier to splatter. And then just gonna splatter those. I've covered my photo up obviously so I don't get splatters all over my little boy's face, but yeah, that's me done for today and for the year, I think. I'm not sure I will squeeze another one in before the end of the year, but yeah, that's me done. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this process and it's given you some inspiration. It's an absolutely beautiful collection. It's still available in the store, so I'll pop a link in the description box below to it for you if you want to go straight there and have a look. And you'll find links to all the products I've used on the Papermaze blog as well. But thanks very much for joining me. I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas and a fantastic year. Thank you for all your lovely comments and likes and everything and all the love you share. Thank you so much. It does mean an awful lot. I hope you all have a fantastic new year, and I'll be back in January with some more layouts for Papermaze. So take care and I'll see you soon.